Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally filming my everyday makeup routine with mostly all natural products, and I'm very excited to share this with you because I've been using this for 2 years and very little has changed in the routine, and I use it in complement to the skin routine, which I've shared with you before. And actually today my skin isn't the best. I've been traveling and I also get breakouts around my time of the month, but I'm gonna show you guys anyway because you're not always going to have perfect or good skin days or good makeup days. I actually prefer my skin to be bare most of the time because I used to wear makeup every single day since freshman year of high school. Actually now it's been the third year mark where I've been not really wearing makeup and I've been adopting a natural makeup routine. But honestly, makeup had a lot to do with my clogged pores and my acne, because even a lot of the conventional makeup that claims to be non-comedogenic, they may not be pore clogging, but they definitely do not go good with acne skin and they aggravate acne, especially if it's sensitive skin. A whole other discussion, but I'm gonna get into it. Really the last step to my skin routine, which I've shared in my video, is that I put on sunscreen, which I do every single day, and actually it's a very overcast day today, but I'm gonna put it on anyway. And I use a homemade product. I had a very difficult time finding a sunscreen that would work for my acne skin, so I just created my own, and if you click the link below in the description box, I'm actually selling them. But I've been using this for 6 months now at least. I've been really happy with it, and it really works for me, so definitely check it out. This sunscreen only has 3 ingredients: hemp butter, red raspberry seed oil, and zinc oxide, which is the active sunscreen ingredients. I just kind of put a little bit on and then I just kind of like smear it across my face. Now zinc oxide doesn't absorb into your skin, so it does leave a very slight white cast, but I like it personally, especially before I put on makeup, because it kind of brightens my skin, and the butter and the oil has a moisturizing effect on your skin. So you definitely do want to start, especially with natural products, a very moisturized skin, so the product applies very smoothly on. So definitely moisturizing is key to priming, even more so than primer itself. I usually like to start with my eyebrows, and this trick I'm so excited to share with you because I think I get so many compliments on how natural my eyebrows look. I noticed when I used eyebrow products before, like I would actually get like breakouts kind of like around the arch or kind of like on top of my eyebrows. So what I use is I actually use 100% activated charcoal. I wanted to find a product that actually matched my black eyebrow hair, and most of the products out there are just dark brown. This is just a eyebrow brush, so I slightly dip it in the charcoal, and don't wet your brush. I used to wet my brush, but I found it's easier and it goes on a lot better when it's actually dry. So then I dip it a little bit and then I kind of pat the excess one, and I like to start from the edges because I like the whole gradient look where it's kind of like lighter from the inner corners and it's darker over here, and most of my hair is more concentrated in the middle, so I really like to darken the tail ends of it. And then I just kind of start outlining the bottom and the top first. You don't have to be totally perfect with it because I usually like to wipe off any excess with a Q-tip later. So I'm just outlining the outside right now, and then I'm gonna fill it in. I just like to use one dip, and I actually like to work on the beginning part of my eyebrows in the end because there's still a little bit product left, so it does leave that lighter effect. So what I do is I kind of mimic the natural direction of my eyebrows, so I kind of start from the end and I just kind of taper it upwards a little bit, and then after I do that I kind of just do one big swipe. And you think that because there's not that many products in it, it's not going to leave a very dark look. I just like to even it out in case there's any sparse areas I didn't get. So I'm just going to go like this to give it a slightly darker look, but it's not as outlined as the end part of it. And I'm going to move on to the next one. And then I just kind of like go over it once or twice just to fix any, because my eyebrows are not the same shape. This one is definitely more arched than the other one. And I know everyone has a favorite eyebrow, and this one is definitely my favorite eyebrow because this one, I don't even know what's going on with it. It has its life of its own sometimes. I know a lot of people use concealer to line it, but my motto is the less the better. Less is more. I'm just going to just swipe it with a Q-tip to make it stand out more instead of using concealer, just to make the ends sharper. You want to start off with a little bit and then work your way to a more darker shade, because it is definitely harder to lighten it once you go too dark. Sometimes to make it lighter is I kind of use just a dry eyebrow, what do you call these things? A dry eyebrow wand, and I just kind of swipe it because it does pick up a little bit of color and it makes it a little bit lighter. And I used to use eyebrow gel, but I kind of find it unnecessary now because this really does stay in place all day. Sometimes I go darker, lighter, depending on how I feel, but I'm good with this. So I'm moving on. And I'm going to wash my hands again before I touch my face. You always want to start with clean hands, clean washed hands, so I'm very neurotic about that. So I know a lot of people use primer, but a lot of primers actually clog your pores because they kind of fill in your pores to create a more smooth canvas for your skin. So I kind of stay away from primers and I use aloe vera gel, and I find it works really well because it's a natural moisturizer and it really smooths the skin and it goes on very light like water, so I like to use aloe vera gel. The best thing is to have your own aloe vera plants and just use that because it's 100% natural, because a lot of aloe vera gel out there have a lot of preservatives, and I actually do have an aloe vera plant. Right now I'm just trying to use up this tub that I bought from Target. It's just this generic aloe vera gel. It's not the best, but I personally find that it hasn't had much effect on my skin, so I'm going to use it up for now, but I do want to start using my aloe vera plant soon. And so I put just a little bit goes a long way, and I just kind of smear it all over my face like you would with primer. And on your eyelids too if you want to put on eyeshadow. I'm going to start with concealer first. Actually, I use this concealer by Juice Beauty. It's the blemish clearing powder in matte sheer, and I think that only comes in 2 shades really, so I use the lighter shade, which isn't my exact skin tone, but I just make it work. But I've been using this for about a year now. This is also a acne treatment, and the instructions actually say you can actually sleep with it on and put it on your skin before makeup. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it on before I put my foundation, and that kind of helps because it is lighter than my skin tone. By putting it on before, the darker shade of the foundation is going to kind of even it out and cover it so it's not as blotchy. So I'm going to start putting it on any discoloration, any pimples, any of that sort. And you don't have to be super precise with it because you're going to put foundation on anyway and it's all going to blend. And right now I'm using just a fluffy eyebrow brush. I have quite a few breakouts right now, so I kind of put it on my under eye because I have dark under eye circles. I just ended up knocking over all my charcoal. So for foundation, everyone has their own preference of how they like to apply it, whether with a brush or a sponge. Or I personally like sponges. I feel like even though they soak up more product, I feel like they go on the most smooth and seamless and doesn't leave any streaks. With brushes, the products don't transfer very well on your skin, and the brush actually ends up taking up more foundation because it doesn't transfer as well. But that's my personal preference and what I feel like I found best. I'm actually using this sponge that that my friend left behind. It's honestly, I don't know where I can get it from here because she says she bought it from a little makeup knick-knack store in Taiwan. I personally like this sponge over other ones. After I soak it in water, which I recommend you do, it really doesn't absorb as much product and it goes on a lot better in your skin because the sponge is more condensed, so there's not that many like holes in the sponge for it to soak up product. If you get like a lighter sponge where it's very airy, it's gonna end up soaking up a lot more product. So I like a very compacted sponge, and I find that it applies it more evenly than a less compacted sponge. So for foundation, you know, it's kind of dirty, but I use the brand Real Purity, the Health Glow Foundation in beige. The great thing about this is it only has 5 ingredients. So I really like it. I find that it doesn't really irritate my skin or my acne as much. It's also not my exact skin tone, but I do try to even it out. I kind of have to apply it in a certain way so it doesn't look dark on my skin. But I've also been using this for 2 years, and unfortunately they discontinued this formula and they created a new and improved formula. It's a lot less natural. There's more ingredients and more like ingredients where I can't even pronounce the name or know what it is. I don't think they're bringing it back anytime soon. So I've literally been using like this for like over a year now. If you do wear makeup every day, I think I remember when I was wearing it more frequently, it lasted me about a good 6 months. This gives you a buildable medium coverage. I haven't found a very high coverage foundation that's natural. So the thing about this is, yes, it's buildable, especially because it's not my skin tone. I like to do it in very thin layers to build it to where it kind of blends into my skin. And so I kind of dab it in the corners of the sponge, and I start with my under eye first, and then I kind of blend it outwards. For my like cheek area, I use this side of it, the more flatter side, and then put a dab in a little bit, and then I like to dot my cheeks so the products are distributed more evenly. And then once I dot it, then I go the opposite direction because I'm going upwards with it. This time I'm going downwards to blend it. Usually I put around 2 to 3 layers. If you put on a lot, it's going to be very concentrated on one area, and because it's a little darker than my skin tone, I layer it, because if I put a lot of products in one area, I can tell that it oxidizes really quickly, and then you can see that it's a lot darker than it really is. So in order for it to blend into my skin tone, layer. Yeah, every layer that I put on, I put less and less. You know, kind of my third layer is when I start concentrating on the problem areas. So I'll dab it on the problem areas, just like not so precise, because again, we're gonna be able to get a little bit more precise on the next step. And then I kind of press it on, especially on any blemishes. I like to press so I know the product goes on very well and covers it. Even when I'm blending, I dab, because I don't want to like smear the product, because it's not gonna go on very well. Especially with a sponge, you want to dab, and because it kind of like squeezes it out a little bit. But if you just smear, like, you're not really gonna get much from it. And my next step is I use a flat concealer brush, and I'm going to use the same product, but this time with the concealer brush. I'm going to go over on the more problem areas and just kind of like slightly dab it on and around and blend out of the problem areas that I have. So I have one here, just slightly. You really want to use really, really light pressure, because again, if you press on it too hard or put too much product, you want to put a little bit product, because with this formula it oxidizes, so you can tell when one area is darker than the other one if you don't put it on evenly. Sometimes I like to go over my under eye one more time, and sometimes I'll blend it out with my fingers too, because I find that also helps. Yeah, after you do that, then that's when I kind of go over with a brush just to kind of set the whole face. I'll go on with the same powder, very, very lightly again, as I said. You can use powder, kabuki brush, whatever. This is just a blush brush I'm using. I just kind of lightly go over everything with like very, very light powder, and you just layer it on because again, if you put a lot of product, it's gonna set like wherever you first lay your brush on. So that's why I do very lightly, and I did very often, so I know it's not going to all settle in one place. That's my trick on how to use products that don't necessarily match your skin tone, because the concealer is lighter than my skin tone and the foundation's darker. The key is layering and using very little product at a time. Because it's my everyday makeup routine, I really don't put on any blush, mainly because I haven't found a natural product that works for acne skin for blush. A lot of it uses like shea butter and coconut oil, as I've mentioned before, which clogs your pores, so I haven't really found a blush that I really liked or a bronzer. Usually before I leave home, I will just swipe on some hemp oil, which I use for my face as well, to moisturize, but if I'm out, I'll use like a natural lip balm. And right now I have with me is this Gimme Lip Grapefruit Alive from Soaptopia. It was kind of expensive, it was $6. I can definitely make this on my own, but again, like, you can honestly just take like a little tin of coconut oil and bring it with you. Like, I'd prefer to do that, but I think I didn't have any with me that day and my lips were really chapped, so I ended up just buying this, and so I just kind of smeared it on my lips, and yeah, that's basically it. So this is the end of the day now. It's about 11 p.m. and I've been wearing it for about 8 or so hours. So as you can see, my eyebrows are still on fleek. It's depending on how my skin fares that day. Sometimes my skin is more oily than others. Some days it's a nice dewy hydration, some days it's drier than others, so it really depends on how your skin is that day. My skin has been kind of just going through changes a lot in the winter especially, but today specifically it's more on the oily side, which isn't how it normally is actually. So some of it did kind of wipe off, but for the most part actually I'm still very happy about the way it looks. It does sometimes get a bit oily, and I personally don't reapply powder because I just don't like caking on too many things, so I'll just like blot it with a tissue or napkin. And I'm cheap, so sometimes I'll just use toilet seat covers to oil blot. And after I blot, normally I get more of like this matte look, which I do enjoy. And actually for me, I actually sometimes like when my skin gets a little bit more oily because it just makes me look more dewy and shiny. But for the most part, I like it. I think it has a medium to high staying power, which says a lot, especially for a natural foundation. If you're deciding whether or not to switch to natural products or not, there's obviously pros and cons. Pro side being, you know there's safe ingredients being absorbed onto your skin. It's better for your skin. On the con side, there's less options available, and sometimes because the natural market is still very new, sometimes the formula and the research isn't as great as conventional makeup. But personally for me, I would choose natural products over conventional ones. But my biggest tip, especially to transitioning to natural products, is to definitely do your research, because natural doesn't always mean safe, so you still have to do your research to see which ingredients are compatible for your skin and your body. And I'm just so happy to share tips on how to clear acne or anything acne related, because it's been a struggle in my life, and now that I'm in the better parts of it, I definitely understand the struggle, and I just so want to help people who are going through the same thing, because there's no cure to acne. Acne is a skin disease. It really takes a toll on your life, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. I still get breakouts and it's still a normal thing, but honestly, compared to how it was before, since I've made these natural changes in my life and to my skin and to my diet and everything, it's made a world of a difference. This YouTube channel and these videos that I make is just a small part of how I want to help people in life. So thank you for making that a small reality for me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.